Hey y'all, it's Kelly Clarkson with Wayfair, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. Picture this. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app when you spot it. A brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
What questions do you need to ask to be more creative? Stay tuned to find out.
Welcome.
Okay, here's the question.
Serious?
How are we dark horses? You know, the ones everyone is betting against, the ones they don't expect to win, place, or even show on the track, and they'll even laugh on us when we talk about trying. How do we show the world our greatness and triumph?
Come on.
Well, that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
Let's go.
This is The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. My name is Tracy Brinkman.
And push it out.
What is up, my Dark Horse friends and family? Welcome back to your daily dose of creative flow learning. I'm your Dark Horse host, Tracy Brinkman, and you, well, as you know, that is infinitely more important, my friend. You are a driven entrepreneur or one in the making. Either way, you're here because you're ready to start, restart, kickstart, or just start leveling up with some great marketing, personal or business tips and results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire you absolutely deserve it to be. And that's why I'm here hitting you with yet another daily success episode coming to you straight from the Dark Horse HQ as we dive deep into success with actionable advice, steps, and tips designed to help you level up your game, because as we already know, there are no shortcuts to success except for taking those little steps toward your goal every single day. Now, before we kick this off, I know you want to keep getting all these daily success tips and the awesome interview episodes I'm able to get for you. So please be sure you go on down there, hit that subscribe button. While you're there, drop us a 5-star rating and leave us some kind words in the reviews. Heck, leave us some suggestions. Ask questions. I read every single one of those reviews and respond to them personally. Also, these subscribes, ratings, and reviews, they tell all those podcast platforms out there that you are getting the value, and they give us a little lift up in the rankings so that we can reach more driven entrepreneurs just like yourself. So please take a moment, show the love, and help us spread the word. All right, so back to the question. What questions can immediately ramp up your creative flow? And here's one of the cool things about this, right? Creativity, so often, I know when I was growing up, it was one of those things that you linked with someone in the arts, someone in drama, someone who's an actor, right? But anybody who's out there grinding away, who has built a business, starting a business, pitched a new product, or created some sort of sales deck, they know that creative thinking is just not for our poets and painters and musicians out there. And I think really, I know it's so often it's called a talent, and maybe it is at some level, but a talent is something that can be fostered, right? It's not like just innately born in you. That's a gift, if you ask me. But I think it's not so much a talent or an inspiration or a hope or this epiphany. It's like whoopa, whoopa, bing, this idea you get out of the blue. I think it's a flow, because if you think about all those times that you got that whoopa, whoopa, bing idea, it wasn't when you were sitting down to be creative, right? You all of a sudden you just got into this flow and it just came. I mean, raise your hand, unless you're driving, right? Raise an eyebrow if you got that idea like right when you were getting ready to go to bed, or maybe it hit you in the middle of the night and it woke you up, or you were in the shower and you weren't even thinking about what it is that idea was related to. There was some moment, maybe you were on a hike in nature and you were just like, wow, it's so pretty out here, right? All of a sudden, bam, that creative hits you. And you can get into that flow, and that flow, if you think about it, is that state. Right? And when we do our best work, you're free from distractions. Maybe you're ultra focused. You're even challenged, and your brain is engaged at that deepest level. The idea comes, and that time flies, and the whole world around you just seems to poof, disappear. Right? It's the zone I think athletes aspire to, that groove that musicians and artists and of all kinds really hunger to get to and hold on to. And it's kind of that space that I was thinking about earlier, right? It kind of exists between work and play, right? It's in that zone. You're not really playing, just it's pure amusement. And you're not really working because it's just kind of coming to you. It's just kind of there and you're in the mood, right? And it's working and you're like, man, I can't turn it on or I can't turn it off, right? It's not this hack or some trick that you pull out of your hat. It's not something you just flick right on unless you really know what it is that clicks for you. And some get lucky enough to do that. They know this sequence that they can create that flow, or at least they can create an environment where that flow happens more often. And that's where I come to these questions, and these questions sometimes can actually help you get yourself into that flow, right? So maybe you've created a space that helps you with your flow. If you're a podcaster, you've got that little space unto yourself where you've got your microphone and maybe your laptop and whatever devices you're using. And this is your podcast flow space. If you're an artist, it's a place where you keep your equipment, be that a brush or a drum or a guitar. So now you sit down and you've got that blank screen in front of you, or you've got your drumsticks in your hand, or you've got that blank canvas in front of you. And how do you get the flow going? So let me drop some questions I think that may help. And I think the first question we need to hit up is, are you focused? Right? So flow depends on the focus, and what we would call this a rare commodity, maybe, right? And I think I really call it a rare commodity because so often our attention is being pulled in 187 different directions, right? And then we believe we can multitask. So now that 187 directions is being doubled. So now we're being pulled in 374 different directions, right? So the question is, am I focused? See, flow is about that peak performance when you're doing your best work. It's not a hack driven by desire to accomplish the average, the mediocre, the thing Joe Schmo can do. No, you want to do your best work, and that work is distinguished above and beyond what others are doing, and that is going to require your attention. You're going to have to turn off all the distractions, literally make yourself unavailable, maybe in the physical realm as well as the digital space, right? If you have a phone, turn off all the alerts and alarms. Heck, leave the phone away from your creative space. I would even go so far to say, before you go into or attempt to get into your flow state, your creative space, all right? Answer any email or text that you need to do, check any social medias you're going to want to check, and then put it away. And I think the cool thing is there's a stair stepping you can do with this. And like Jason Sherman mentioned in yesterday's episode, well, not yesterday's, would have been Monday's episode, when he talked about you have that dream for the train, or maybe you start with the scooter. You could do the same thing here in your focus, right? The first step is to create your space, whatever your space is. Maybe it's a little corner in your kitchen, maybe it's a room in your home, whichever it might be. And then you start by blocking off 5 minutes, doing all those things and then turning them all off and going to your space. And you're only going to do that for 5 minutes minimum. And then the next time it's 10 minutes. Then it's 15. You can start stacking on this over and over and over again. And what you'll find is you'll be able to focus for a longer period of time. And at that point, you'll be able to create it in such a way that when you're in the mood, when you're in the groove of, I'm checking my last emails, I'm checking my last social media things, and then I'm turning my phone off, setting it down, you'll find when you walk into your space, you'll start feeling the flow start to rise, and that's where you want to be. Now, the next question you're going to want to ask to make sure you can get yourself into flow space is in that creative space, in that creative flow. Am I challenged? Because here's what I find when it comes to your creative energies and your flow is it's going to come together right at that intersection where your level of skill meets a challenge. And I'm not talking about your level of skill is 5 and the challenge is 57. I'm talking about your level of skill is 5 and the challenge is at level 7. You're like, you could reach there, but you're going to have to lean out just a little bit of your comfort zone, right? You've heard me talk about that. You're going to lean out just a little bit. So now you're challenged. You're like, oh, I can do this. Because really, if you think about it, your best work, if you think about any of your best work in the past, it's not where your level of skill matched the challenge. It was, that's easy. Anyone could do that, right? And even if it was some of your best work, it wouldn't continue to be your best work because you would get bored. I think any of us really that believe in that creative energy, we want to be challenged. We want to be pushed out of our comfort zone. We want to be told we can't do it because you know what? You tell me I can't do it, I'm coming after it, and I'm coming after you for saying it. How about that? So your creativity needs challenge. It needs to be something pushed against. There needs to be a problem you're solving, right? And it's not to the point where it's being overpowered. It's just being pushed against, right? It's like, you're doing the bench. You're like, the last time you benched 185. So now you're going to try 205, right? And there's a resistance here. You're like, wow, this is heavier than usual, right? But there's that reward that comes from benching that extra weight and going that extra mile and leaning out of your comfort zone, right? And it's not so big like someone said, hey, you need to try 300. You might start freaking out. You might lose your focus, right? And you might actually burn out your resources or blow a muscle, which would keep you out of the zone for a much longer time. So you want to find that place where the challenge meets your skill level and a little bit beyond. Does that make sense? Because here's what's really cool about that. When you continue to do that, you'll be continually leveling up your skills. So you'll be going out there to find more challenging projects and opportunities. And that spirals growth. And that growth spirals motivation. And motivation spirals growth, right? And that's that upward spiral. And that's what we want. And I think the last question is probably the easiest one. Are you nervous? Because here's the thing. You've heard me say this if you've heard more than 2 or 3 episodes. You only have to be courageous. You only have to fight off that fear for a couple seconds, right? It's like the first time I was up in the plane at 10,000 plus feet and I was doing the airborne shuffle and getting ready to turning and jump out the plane for the first time. I froze. I stopped. But I only needed to be unafraid. I only had to be courageous. I was still afraid. I only had to be courageous enough to take one step. And that one step took like 2 seconds. And then the rest, you could keep me off a plane. You couldn't keep me from jumping out of an airplane after that. Now, I had gone through all the training, right? Did this is how you do that, or this, right? So I had the confidence. I had the skills to exercise jumping out of a plane. But there was that fear, that moment that stopped me. But rather than holding on to that fear, I summoned up the courage, that 2 seconds of courage to take that one step forward and a whole new world to open up. See, your fear is a compass. And if you're doing work that matters, you need to be suspicious if there's no fear, if there's nothing at stake. Because then you're really just kind of resting on your laurels, right? You're maybe resting on past wins. And if that's all you want, hey, more power to you. But I think you're one of those go-getters. You want that entrepreneurial mindset, that entrepreneurial spirit. You want to move on and up. And to do that, there's going to be a little bit of nervousness involved. Maybe a little fear. You're going to have to plan things. And then you're going to have to put a little skin in the game, right? You're going to have to, okay, this is a little risk, but it's an acceptable risk. I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. I'm going to put a little on the line, but it's not risk for the sake of risk, right? It's really there to draw out the best of you, something that might not otherwise show up unless you had something to lose, right? That's that little bit of risk. There's nothing to lose, then there's nothing to gain. So again, if we summarize this back, are you focused, right? Create a space where you can focus and get your creativity flowing. Are you being challenged? Make sure you find that intersection where your skill is just being a little bit exceeded by the challenge. If you're being challenged, you're really going to come up with some creative solutions. And then are you nervous? Because if you're a little bit nervous, you can channel that fear, build up that 2 seconds of courage to step in, take that first step and move forward. And man, things will just begin to flow after that. All right, my Dark Horse friends and family. Remember, on the next episode, on Friday's episode, we're going to talk about the best ways to help others as well as yourself. Now, I know, like I said before, you want to keep getting all these daily success tips, so be sure you go on down there, smash that subscribe button, drop us a 5-star rating, leave us some kind words in the reviews. Those subscribes, rating, reviews, they tell those podcast platforms out there to kick us up a little bit in the rankings so that we can reach more driven entrepreneurs just like yourself. So please take a moment, show the love, and help spread the word. Then, come on over and join us in the Facebook group. We get to know each other on a more personal level. We can interact directly. You'll find me there quite often. Go to facebook.com. In that search bar at the top, type in Dark Horse Tribe. Heck, here, I'll even make it easier for you. Down in the show notes, you'll see the link saying darkhorseschooling.com/Dark Horse Tribe. Click on that. That will take you right there. I look forward to meeting you in the group. All right. Until next time, you get out there, run your race. You get your results. Come into the group. Let me hear about them. Until Friday, think successfully and take action.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
And you know this!
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.